Two African countries, two presidential elections a few weeks apart. Both elections historic, not just because in both cases the occupants of the top seat are new, but the elections went ahead even though the continent is grappling with the rising coronavirus cases.
We know that Malawi went to elections during a time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Governments have an obligation to hold periodic elections, but what was important and what we recommended to the government of Malawi was to ensure that these elections are safe in terms of public health, are free and fair, and this included putting in place measures such as social distancing and sanitizing those that participated in the vote and ensuring that there was no overcrowding.
The fact is that the government's response, which was to continue with an electoral campaign to tell its people that God is protecting the country and that it has divine intervention with regards to protection. The fact is that this is at best a very irresponsible way of handling and addressing a pandemic.
Burundi held elections weeks after expelling the World Health Organization officials and failing to report its COVID-19 cases. Human Rights Watch says this is not an isolated case of expelling those who disagree with it.
The fact that World Health Organization officials might have disagreed with Burundi's approach and the data and the response from the Burundian government was not to try to understand those disagreements, but simply to kick those people out, is not surprising.
In both countries, the handling of COVID-19 has come under criticism.
Malawi's COVID-19 responses under the previous government of President Peter Mutharika were chaotic and not well considered, considering that in some of the cases there were reports of hundreds of people escaping from state quarantine, and the testing of people was not done in a way that protected people's health. We, as Human Rights Watch and others, are calling on the new government of President Lazarus Chakwera to ensure that its COVID-19 response measures are adequate to protect public health.
The spotlight has now shifted to the newly elected leadership. Will there be a new commitment to fight COVID-19? And what should be the priority?
We call on the government of Malawi now to ensure that as it moves forward, it carries out sufficient measures to protect the public, particularly vulnerable communities, in its responses to the COVID-19 pandemic, as the numbers continue to rise of those that test positive to the coronavirus.
On June 30th, the new President Evariste Ndayishimiye did announce a new campaign called Zero COVID-19, Zero COVID-19. So it remains to be seen what that campaign will actually entail of, but at the bare minimum, at least it does imply that the new government, the new president, is taking this seriously.
Burundi has confirmed 170 positive cases of COVID-19 and 1 death, but there are fears that the numbers could be higher as the government has not been testing, as is the case in other countries. Malawi decided to forge ahead with its vote despite the COVID-19 threat. It currently has just over 1,000 positive cases. Sarah Kimani, SABC News, Kenya.